Special meeting of the Oak Point City Council of July 31st. The meeting is called to order at 6:01 p.m. Every council is present except Councilmember Lusk. And I'm sorry, thank you, Councilmember Weiler. We have a quorum. We'll start with the invocation. Our gracious Father, thank you for our beautiful little city. Please bless our residents, staff, and our consultants with your peace and your protection. Give us your wisdom and discernment to make the best decisions for the people of Oak Point. In God we still trust. Amen.
Amen.
And our pledges.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you.
Hey, George.
Agenda item number 4, consider and act upon an ordinance approving the Oak Point Public Improvement District number 2, 2024 Annual Service Plan Update. Thank you, Mary.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Mary Petty with P3 Words here, your PID administrator. So your PID number 2 is actually your South Oaks development. And so this is just your regular annual service and assessment plan update. This PID is fully levied. If it's not completely built out, it's nearing complete build out and the bonds have already been issued on it. So we're not really taking any action again like your other PIDs we've approved. The statute requires the service and assessment plan to be updated annually. And then that is your assessment roll that is submitted to the county each year to go on the property tax rolls. So happy to answer any questions, but it's just literally the update for the assessment roll components, marching on down that path of paying the assessments for the remaining period.
Have you had any payoffs for this PID?
You know what? It would be located in that document. Let me pull that up and tell you. Inside the service and assessment plan update every year, it will show a section that will say prepayments. And so right now, I'm looking at page 5. It says prepayment of assessments in full have been none, partial prepayments have been none, and therefore there's been no extraordinary optional redemptions.
What does the CDA stand for in a CDA review?
It's a continuing disclosure review, and so while the developer is developing, they must report quarterly to the bond investors certain metrics that they agreed to beforehand. But you also have to report annually, just like you do on your city bonds, annual components about city governance, your budget. You have to upload your audited financials to the EMA, which is the MSRB website. And so whenever we do that, we work with staff, but then we always make sure we make it available to the attorneys and the FA to review. And if there's any associated fees, we make sure we have that covered as well, so the city's general fund's not being used.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Any other questions?
If there's not any other questions, is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the Oak Point Public Improvement District number 2, 2024 Annual Service Plan as presented.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Bastage, and we have a second from Councilmember Horatio. Is there any further discussion? If not, we'll vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Agenda item 5, public hearing to consider proposed assessments to be levied against the assessable property within improvement area number 1 of the Oak Point 720 Public Improvement District, the district, pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 372 of the Texas Local Government Code.
Yes, ma'am. So this is your Rudman tract, which we commonly called it. You entered into a development agreement several years ago. Zoning was done, and at that point in time, the PID was created. The developer commenced construction and moved forward. And so one of the questions that arose prior to the meeting was, why does this improvement area look kind of odd? Well, the developer selected that internal road that is a major road, whether it was a zoning component or something the city requested from an engineering and accessibility standpoint. That road actually connects to the existing Wild Ridge subdivision. And so it provides a thoroughfare back and forth for that property. And so the developer opted to develop some on the south side, some on the north side of the residential housing components. Now, the future development that will happen on the north side includes residential and commercial. The future improvement that will happen on the south side includes residential and commercial and the civic side. And so the way engineering works and the water connections work, they had to get to certain places before they could stop construction of that line. And so you're building in the middle of the development instead of working from like Wild Ridge did from the south to the north. And so it looks a little bit different. But because of that, we had to go ahead and identify this north remainder area and the south remainder area, because they clearly, on the south, you have that road and there's no red boxes below that road they're building now, but it clearly benefits that area to the south. So you had to allocate it appropriately. And so just like Wild Ridge, you have some of those costs that are allocated to future improvements. We're not reimbursing for those right now, but in the future, the assessment could potentially reimburse the developer for those at a later date. So that's primarily answering the question about why is it that funny shape? They started development in the middle, but they don't want to levy on the property now because they're not developing all the property now.
So the section that this will affect is only the colored portion,
That's right. So Joni, will you scroll back one slide, please?
and we know how big that is?
Yes. So the remainder area is the green. And so the levy is only on this white portion right here. And yes, we have a legal description that ties to what that levy is. Thank you. We have a legal description that ties to what that levy is. And then as that
It
piece
doesn't correspond with my eyes in the pictures.
Oh. Yeah, so if you go one more to the top, Joni, that's the improvement area we're levying, and then the green is the improvement area that's remaining, but we're allocating some of those costs that benefited to those areas, and that's why they were having to be defined now and identified now.
Okay, explain when you say some of those costs
Mhm.
associated with North and South Remainder.
Go down to, if you don't mind, Joni. So this road right now is being built completely. This road clearly benefits these lots down here, just like it benefits these lots up
Okay,
here.
so those lots aren't part of the South Remainder.
Those red and green lots right there, these are all being built now and part of improvement area number 1. These lots that are white, they're that future southern area.
So they're part of the remainder South Remainder.
That's correct.
That's right.
Yes, that's correct.
And then, okay, so tell me about what's covered with the PID that is associated to this with the south.
So your boundary of your PID is this whole property.
Right.
We're only levying on these colored lots right now. When we come back, I don't know whether it's north or south or both at the same time, it's irrelevant, but when they get to this part and they're gonna levy this part, we will be identifying this part on the south, identifying their total cost, including a portion of this road that rightfully benefits them and rightfully could be reimbursed from those assessment payers. Same thing on the north, this road right here clearly benefits this property as well. And so you just have to make sure that you're allocating the benefit with the assessments, they're matching up. You don't want to assess these people for that whole road when.
Right, and then not assess the northern remainder when they get billed for that remainder for service. And then I understand North and South Remainder costs for the dedicated roads in those areas will be fully encompassed within the allocations.
Right.
for those remainder.
Right.
And then so the North and South Remainder, eventually, this is section number 1, and then there's like section number 2 and section 3.
Correct.
North and South Remainders, they'll have the road associated PIDs, the road associated bonds, etc.
Correct. Correct. Yes, sir.
I think I'll open the public hearing now. The public hearing is open at 6:11.
Good evening, Roxanne Sheehan, 9406 Biscayne Boulevard, Dallas, Texas, 75218. And I represent the landowner CXLK Redmond LLC. And we're just here to speak in favor of the assessment and thank the city for their work on this project. And can answer any questions, but Mary kind of explained that well. Why we're going through the middle first. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak in the public hearing? If not, the public hearing is closed at 6:12 p.m. Council, do you have any further questions? If not, is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the .720 Public Improvement District Service and Assessment Plan, including improvement area 1.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Bastich, and we have a second by Councilmember Kulwicki. I'm sorry, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem Kulwicki.
There you
Is there any further discussion? Any other questions for Mary? If not, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The motion passes unanimously. Agenda item number 6, consider and act upon an ordinance approving the .720 Public Improvement District Service and Assessment Plan.
That's what we just passed.
I thought we did.
5 was the hearing.
Yeah, we closed the 5 and then we did 6. You read it.
Okay, so we're good.
I think so.
I'm moving on to 7. Is that right?
Yeah, you open, hearing was 5, the ordinance was 6, I did the bond 7.
Okay, thank you. Agenda item 7, consider and act upon an ordinance of the City of Oak Point, Texas, approving and authorizing the issuance and sale of the City of Oak Point, Texas Special Assessment Revenue Bonds, Series 2024, Oak Point 720, Public Improvement District Improvement Area Number 1 project, approving and authorizing related agreements and providing an effective date.
Mayor, Council, your bond counsel is here, that's Jordan, and he can certainly answer any questions before you take action on this. Your financial advisor is actually traveling back from vacation today, but he and his partner were in the pricing, sent us the numbers, that's how your service and assessment plan was updated. Jordan's prepared all of your documents that are part of the attachments with all the final plans. Jason sent this one page, which is what he normally provides to you all relative to the bonds, and so I'm happy to go through it. Infrastructure cost total in the service and assessment plan, and here's that bold number, a little bit over 8.6 million. The term of the PID bonds are 30 years, that matches the term of the assessment that you just levied, and that interest rate is a 5.775. Now, the total par amount of the bonds was 10.149, because remember, in addition to that 8.6 in actual construction cost, you have other costs associated with the issuance. Your advisors, the attorney general, and then you have debt service reserve, because remember, our PID bonds have a reserve component that's available. And then it also addresses on that line 11, your value to lien, shows the total number of benefited lots, which matches that service and assessment plan, and then those tax rate components. So as we have gone through this process, we've just ensured we're compliant with the development agreement, and we addressed this before with you all in executive session a couple of weeks ago, just relative to the reimbursement, what we were expecting, et cetera. And so this is still in keeping with all of that. So Jordan, if you've got anything else.
Yeah, just have a little question. I guess how the money operates.
Okay.
It gets paid back how, when, and
Yep.
when it goes to you guys.
Sure. So good questions. So we're selling bonds today. There is a closing date that is about 3 weeks in the future.
And this interest is just estimated because they're gonna get an actual rate one.
This is actual now.
Yep.
This is your rate. So this morning pricing occurred, and that's what Hilltop Securities participated in with the underwriter. And so before that interest rate was an estimate. You're right. Now this is the final interest rate. Now, if it has a 7 or 10-year call feature, once we get there, if there's interest rate savings, bond counsel and FA will come before you and say, hey, we need a refund, we can get better interest rates, but this was a really good rate, you've got a good credit. The development is, at least this portion is almost completed. They're gonna be dedicating those roads here in the next 30 to 60 days. And so that just makes for a positive thing when they go into the market. So to the interest rate, that's set. The money in 3 weeks will be deposited with the trustee. Remember, the trustee holds that on your behalf. And then the developer has to submit all their invoices for construction. And so that service and assessment plan, we were looking at those roads and talking about how it was appropriated. So as they submit those invoices are allocated according to that service and assessment plan and that benefit. And then they're able to draw on those bond proceeds to get reimbursed for costs they've already spent. So if they submit an invoice that's not eligible, we have to return it to them and say, sorry, that's not eligible. Oftentimes they submit invoices, and this team's really, really good. They'll submit all their invoices. It's about one draw, maybe two, and then they know what's eligible and what's not. And usually it's for a cost in excess of what they're getting reimbursed, because they can't get reimbursed for private costs. It's just the roads, water, sewer, drainage. Did that answer your question about how the money flows?
Yeah, all right, so then, repayments, how's that function?
The repayments of the bonds?
Yeah.
These are, yeah, so that, those assessments that were just led in the prior action item, those are what secure the bonds. Those are set up to be collected every year as annual installments. Those annual installments that they will prepare what the amount is, the county will collect, the homeowners pay in the end of January, February. We take that money goes over to the trustee that would collect every year from the taxpayers and from the homeowners. That will then be used to make all of our debt service payments throughout the year. And then, as Mary said, in the event we ever have a shortfall, we have a debt service reserve fund that's already built into it.
Yeah, so Joni.
Yeah.
Page 41 of that service and assessment plan, that item number 6 we approved, that is your annual installment schedule that was updated to match the bonds. So when Hilltop worked with the underwriter to price those bonds, they feed those very specific principal and interest components, and we adjust the service and assessment plan to make sure we're collecting for all those components. And so yes, every year it goes on the tax rolls. The tax office wires it straight to the trustee, I think in this case, and then the trustee holds those funds and the trustee's making the debt service payment on your behalf.
And then I guess one other question, I'll just see where this is. Ultimately, at the end of our year, what does that add to our bottom line?
Zero. So all of the costs to collect, whether it's the county's costs, our costs, independent costs of your consultants, that gets paid out of the administrative account of the assessments that are collected. And so the principal and interest that will pay for these bonds is solely collected from the assessments. The costs associated with these bonds and this PID are collected as part of that admin cost for part of the assessments as well.
Which is like that.
It's a wash.
It's a wash. It is your time on an extra Wednesday to come.
It's self-supporting. That's not, that has a specific meaning in a debt community, but I think that's a good way to describe it. Is the idea is that it's supposed to run itself.
That answers all my questions. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. I'll take that
Are
one.
there any other questions for Mary or Jordan? If not, is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve item 7 as well.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Horatio. We have a second from Deputy Mayor Pro Tem Kowicki. Any further discussion? If not, we will vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. The motion passes unanimously. Agenda item number 8, consider and act upon a resolution approving and authorizing the mayor to execute the PID reimbursement agreement, 0.720 Public Improvement District, and resolving other related matters.
Perfect, yeah. So this is related to the same PID. It does cover improvement area 1, but because this development is all going all at once, we have a separate reimbursement agreement that essentially, and this is what we talked about a little bit in executive session the last meeting. This reimbursement agreement allows the developer to go forward to construct the improvements and to dedicate those to the city. We're not trying to hold them up as that goes. And then it allows us to come back and levy assessments to pay them back. Part of from a tax law perspective and from a state law perspective, a city's not allowed to pay a developer for something they already own unless they have already agreed to pay for that. So this is the process by which we allow the developers to get going, to continue to build everything dedicated over to the city, and then us come back and actually pay them back for that after they've already been dedicated over to the city.
Any questions for Jordan? If not, is there a motion?
I make a motion to the resolution approving and authorizing the mayor to execute the PID reimbursement agreement of .720 Public Improvement District and any resulting other related matters.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Bastage. We have a second from Deputy Mayor Pro Tem Plawicki. Any further discussion?
I just have one note. This is generally for people at work. I know that most of us up here aren't big fans of PIDs because, well, for the same reason that if I was to buy a house, location with the PID, I wouldn't want to have that additional thing. I generally stand against those things. But we are at the point within this whole process, especially with this piece of property, this is how it operates. And even voting against it isn't going to make a difference. So and I know I'm not the only one up here that feels that way about PIDs. Just so people understand. I don't have any questions later. Well, you didn't like PIDs, well, I don't. But, you know, this is what has to happen in this situation. So, just want to make that.
Thank you. Shall we vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. The motion passes unanimously. Agenda item number 9, consider and act upon a resolution approving and authorizing the mayor to execute the interlocal cooperative agreement with Mustang Special Utility District related to the Oak Point 720 Public Improvement Area Number 1 improvements and resolving other related matters.
Perfect, yeah, so as part of the improvement area 1 of the 720 PID, there will be certain water and sewer improvements that will be constructed. Those are being dedicated to Mustang Special Utility District, who will own, operate, and maintain those for service to the residents. So as part of that process, Mustang is agreeing to provide those services and to operate and maintain those improvements. So this is how it's done very frequently whenever we have water and sewer costs that are specific to an area, using Mustang side. I believe that's how we did it for all of the other Wild Ridge pieces as well. So this is really just the mechanism by which, under the PID Act, the city is approving that transfer.
Thank you, Jordan.
Absolutely.
Are there any questions for Jordan? If not, we'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No motion.
Oh, I'm sorry, we need a motion. Thank you. Who would like to make the
Okay, I'll
motion?
make a motion. I'll make a motion to make a motion. Consider and act upon a resolution approving and authorizing the mayor to execute the interlocal cooperative agreement with Mustang Special Utility District related to the Oak Point 720 Public Improvement Area Number 1 improvements and resolving other related matters.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion from Deputy Mayor Pro Tem Dufford and a second from Councilmember Horatio. Any further questions?
He's Mayor Pro Tem.
You have usurped my vote.
Idea? I'm sorry.
I think Joe was
We have Dufford and Horatio, right?
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay. Oh, did I give Scott the wrong?
Mhm.
I'm sorry. It's hard. Okay,
It's easy for us, we're on this side of.
shall we vote?
I just have one small concern. It's not a big concern, but even Mustang right now, we're already in a drought situation. Are they gonna be able to handle all this new development?
Yeah, I will say specifically, that's a question that we get asked very frequently. That is a part of this whole process, is working with Mustang to confirm that they have the capacity to do that. As part of the bond offering process, that's a very specific part of the diligence, is working with Mustang to make sure they're confirming that they have the capacity to serve here. So that is something we look at very closely. Certainly, we're relying on Mustang to provide that information, but that is based on what they've told us. And I don't know, developer, y'all may have something else, but I believe that's what we've confirmed many times.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And on that note, is there another provider in the area that could and would be available to
Not that I'm aware of.
How would that work if Mustang wasn't up to the task, since they're the
CCM.
Yeah, they have the CCN.
and CCN, they have the certificate of convenience and necessity. How would that pan out if they couldn't handle this?
Yes, certainly, and then I would probably refer a little bit more to Jeff, just from a city attorney perspective, but I think I'll say it as I'm up here, I believe a lot of that is going to be, we'll have to have remedial steps to take in, whether or not that's the city's taken in, which I don't think is going to be the plan, or whether or not it's finding another provider. The idea is, this area is obviously growing very heavily, so I know there are providers trying to come this way, but that's, at this point, it will all stick with Mustang. I don't know that we have an exact plan of what happens if Mustang runs out of water, because I don't think that is a part of what they're trying to do. The plan right now is to continue to build these improvements that allow them to access the water to get the water to the homes.
Thank you.
That's what.
Any other questions, comments? Let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The motion passes unanimously. Agenda item number 10 is adjournment. The meeting is adjourned at 6:27 p.m. Thank you.
So I was trying to think of.
So, yeah, no, you're good. Yeah, they are who hold the CCN. It's a whole lot of alphabet soup.
Yeah, I feel like they're sometimes.
Absolutely.
No,